Now those pubs which can have a clean and really they abide by law, above 25 girls will come and they keep everything is above board. Then it's fine. But if it is deteriorating into this, my God, something has to be done.
But
about
Mr.
it.
Singhal,
They have to be closed down. The government will have to do it.
But aren't you worried that you sound like the moral police of the Taliban?
No, I think he made a good point. Let's stick by it.
That you sound like the moral police in Saudi Arabia who are insisting on a certain code.
Let me reply. You want that nothing should be done to let the pop culture degrade into drug culture and then degrade into debauchery. This country will prosper by that. Okay, have that country. You are free to have that kind of a country.
I actually think Mr. Singhal had it right. He said if the pub runs according to the laws, there is nothing wrong with it. That's great. I think so. Actually, he's not against.
Okay, but
20-year-old girls were there.
Okay, but you had a problem with the whole.
No, sir. What you and I are agreeing that the pub should run the way they are supposed to run. We have no disagreement on that.
Yeah,
that's it.
No.
They were
You were saying you were having a problem. You were having a problem with the whole notion of Indian values, right? That what is this thing called Indian values?
Actually, what I don't understand is that India is such a diverse country that everybody has different values. Okay, which ones are Indian values and which are not, and who will determine what is Indian values? What I want to know, because I don't think there's any consensus possible on this. All right, the way the Northeast functions, where there's much more easy mixing between boys and girls, as opposed to say a Haryana, where if a girl is seen talking to a boy, it can be an excuse to have either her or that boy killed. There's a huge range of things that happen in India, right? In a lot of tribal areas in India, for example, there's much more easy intermingling between boys and girls. It's not held to be an offense.
Right. So there is no consensus on Indian values. So this notion of Indian culture and Indian values we're talking about is just maybe a very North Indian BJP oriented, but we must get in our other panelists as well. Prameela, Nesargi, what is your final comment on this? Again, would you say that at the end of the day, you cannot thrust values down anybody's throat? In today's time, with a generation gap, with the young people wanting to do what they're doing, if they choose to exercise their choice, that's their choice.
I just want to say, almost all our men in our country have already westernized. Look at their haircuts. I mean, they've already westernized. They have borrowed it from British people or the other people. They cannot say about our culture. What I want to say is, our young women and children must realize that they must live with dignity, and modesty is the name for women. And if they maintain the dignity and modesty, and that's the end of it, and then we can maintain the values in life.
Modesty is important. That's a very perhaps interesting note to end on. Modesty may not be a very fashionable word, but as Prameela Nesargi says, the Indian woman, if she wants to survive as a free woman, must perhaps inculcate a virtue of modesty. That's a very interesting, perhaps Indian virtue. Prameela Nesargi, Divya, BP Singhal, Shefalee Vasudev, Madhu,
Modesty
Kishwar.
is a very British word and a very British concept.
Also an Indian word. Rahul Ram, thanks very much indeed. That's it on Mangalore Morality and Culture. India is a far more conservative country than it appears perhaps at first glance. But as globalization creates new lifestyles, as economic slowdown creates more and more unemployed youth, the clash between the so-called haves of morality and the so-called have-nots of morality will probably only get wider and grow. Thanks for watching.